Hello, welcome everyone. It's 7:30. We should be starting at 7:30 my time actually. We should be starting our session. I see some participants joining. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. We're happy to see you all here. We are starting a session on photonics labor market and career development, which has been prepared and is going to be hosted by Matthew Posner from Excelitas Technologies and myself, Patrick Urban from WaveJobs. We're also members of the IEEE Photonics Industry Engagement Committee, who's been active in preparing this session. This panel, this meeting will last for 60 minutes, it's planned for 60 minutes. And we will have 4 panelists, speakers. During the meeting, we will ask questions, and we will also invite you, the audience, to post questions, and we will address those by the end of, or closer to the end of the session, the last part. So let me start with introducing our panelists. We have Emine Jacin, if I pronounce your name properly, sorry. She's the head of technology at Heidelberg Instruments Nano in Switzerland. Emine holds PhD in solid-state electronics from the University of Michigan, and she was a Marie Curie postdoctoral fellow at ETH Zurich. She joined in 2018 Heidelberg Instruments Nano as a principal application engineer, and currently she's the head of technology. Welcome, Emine. Would you?
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Just checking the mic. We have also Odile Liboiron-Ladouceur, who is an associate professor at the McGill University. She holds a PhD degree in electrical engineering from the Columbia University, New York. And she's been working in a number of, or has been involved in a number of companies, Teradyne, Texas Instruments, IBM Watson Research Center. She's now an associate professor at McGill University, which is her alma mater, I believe, her home university.
Yes.
Yes. Hello, Odile.
Hi, thank you for inviting me.
We also have Adam Petrovsky, who is the CEO of Vigo System in Poland, and he's the president of the board as well. He's also the president of the board of Polish Technological Platform for Photonics. He holds PhD in materials sciences, materials engineering, sorry, from the Military Academy in Warsaw. Hello, Adam. Are you with us?
Hello.
Hello. We also have Ilse de Graaf, who is a corporate recruiter at Smart Photonics. She graduated from art and design in 2003, and so that's a different flavor in this panel here. But she has a great story behind, and hopefully she is going to share this. During her career, she moved from commercial KPI-driven recruitment via agencies to qualitative corporate high-tech recruitment. Since August 2020, she represents Smart Photonics as a senior recruitment specialist. So summing it up, hello, Ilse.
Hello.
Summing it up, I tried to calculate the total number of years of experience in photonics that we have of all the people here, and I ended up at 75 years, and I stopped actually counting this further. I also took the attempt to calculate, to sum up all the papers and patents of the speakers that we have here. Well, I just gave up after a couple of hundreds. So by that, I just wanted to say that we have really consolidated quite some experience and knowledge here in this room. And I really look forward to the discussions. Yes, so again, Hello, everyone, and let's start the discussion. Matthew, I hand over the mic to you, please.
Thank you, Patrick, and welcome everyone to this session. And yes, over the next hour, we're going to go through the life stories of our expert panelists and go through their past, their present, and their views for the future on the themes of the photonics labor market and how you do career development. So just to kick things up and get everyone started, please do let us know where you're calling from in the chat. And whilst we open the floor to our panelists, and we're going to hear from each of them in turn to offer some reflections on some of their career planning in photonics and some of the lessons learned, which could be used for you if you are listening and looking at plan different stages of your career. And to start off, I would really like to invite Ilse a senior corporate recruiter, to tell us a little bit more about her story and what happened was this planning this career to end up in photonics where she is today. Ilse.
Well, thank you, Matthew, for asking. Like you have all heard in the introduction, my career path was not the regular one via college and university degrees. I graduated in art and design, realizing that I was not an artist at all and not even coming close. And while my ambition is always to be the best in whatever I do, for sure I was not the best in art and design. So, well, I was thinking about what to do with my career. I subscribed myself at an agency and they got me a job, not via them, but for them. They asked me that I was a smooth communicator and maybe recruitment was something for me. I had no clue what recruitment meant at the time, but I happily said yes. And that's where I found myself destiny in life, because I'm still a recruiter today after almost 17 years now. My path led from agency recruitment, like Patrick introduced me, KPI driven, hiring as much people as possible, to more corporate recruitment where quality becomes more important. I decided to change towards high tech, actually because I thought it was good for my own resume and not because I liked it that much. I chose for ASML, which is also a large company here in the Netherlands. And I absolutely fell in love with the technology, which is of course a different technology as the technology I'm in today. But the high-tech environment really got me. And I was actually not aiming for a career in photonics. I was aiming for a career in a startup environment where I could build my own recruitment department. And it happened to be Smart Photonics. So this is, I'm just the 1 year here in photonics. So the rest is representing the other 75 or 50, 74. So credits to them. But yeah, I absolutely love it. And I'm happy to participate here today.
Thank you very much, Ilse. And if I can bounce on one of what you said in kind of like landing yourself and wanted to build something, was there lots of choice for you as a recruiter to kind of find that niche in photonics where you could come and build that ambition of being a top recruiter for a global community?
Well, not in photonics, but the market for recruiters, especially in the area where I live, is very easy. So high-tech recruiters are very high in demand. So I could choose yes, but yeah, Smart Photonics looked like the best opportunity for me, and so far it was.
Great, thank you. And we'll kind of stay in the high-tech companies and move from yourself in the Netherlands to Poland, where we have a director of the board of Vigo, Adam. Adam, could you sort of give us a little bit of a flavor of your personal story and how you kind of went about your career in photonics?
So today from one of the professional social media websites, I learned that I have a 19 years experience in my company, exactly 19 years. So so it's not yet half of my life, but adding the number of years that the founder of the company was bringing me into the company as a child, probably gives me a figure of more than half of a year in the company. Because I'm the son of the founder, and I joined the company when it was only 35 people working there. The great people devoted to their jobs, and they opened the world of photonics, of semiconductors to me, and show me the first way. And then from a small company, I was driven by emotions. So it was not doing something that was regular. It was always doing something what was new, what was different from what I was doing before. Always every year we were changing the style of working, because there was different customers, different scale of operation. Now after all these years, we are more than 200 people working there on full contracts, and almost 300 part-time. So it was a huge shift, and there was times that I had a everyday choice of doing different things: optics on Monday, and then semiconductor epitaxial growth on Tuesday, and then networking and conference on Wednesday, and some kind of a regular HR or organization issues on Thursday and Friday. So it was really everything connected, because in the startup, in the small companies, it looks usually like this. When the company gets larger, in the more strict functions are restricted to each person, which becomes a faster growth, but probably more uniform across each person. So now I'm just switching between different applications, different areas of where my customers are working on, to have some kind of a different point of view. It's not longer so much switching of the functions in the company, but this kind of career gave me a whole point of view of different positions, from a regular technician to manager, and actually it was a great lesson for me to have all those experience, all the contact with all kind of people working in Vigo, working in the universities, in institutes, and in our partner companies. It was a really long journey, but a very exciting one that on the end made me a president of the company, and now also kind of a networker guy that is working with other companies as a part of our venture activities, or working in some kind of committees in European Commission. So that's really interesting journey behind me, and lots of excitement in front of me.
That's great to hear of all of how you've gone about seeking all of these opportunities to expand and diversify your career as well. And maybe one little known fact about Vigo is yourself as a startup, you are a second generation company as well, having inherited it from your father. Then did you think some of the excitement of moving around between companies was kind of helped by, I guess, almost this family feel in your career path? Could you comment a little bit on that, Adam?
So for me, when father founded the company, it was like losing father for a while. So getting back to the company was gaining the family on everyday perspective. So yeah, it was important factor for me choosing to work in the company, but it's not always the advantage to work with the family. It's always a compromise, and you need a lot of flexibility, because it's not 8 hours work, it's much longer than that.
Right, point. No, well noted. I think a lot of us are hearing families in the background because of where we are working for COVID at the minute. But thank you for your perspectives. And so next, I'd like to invite Odile, who I know has a big family in the background that's just keeping quiet for us for today. But Odile, could you tell us a little bit about your career? And I know you've also spent some time between, as we heard, academia and the industry. How was that kind of helped you in getting to where you are today?
Yeah, I feel I'm breaking the party because I'm from the academia and I made an effort to have the official background. But yeah, and I'm actually based in Montreal. I was born here. Actually, I grew up 4 streets from where I am right now. So, but I did go around coming back to McGill. After my bachelor, I had absolutely no intention to become an academic professor. I had no clue how to get there and wasn't interested. I wanted to travel, and I knew that a bachelor degree would allow me to travel. And as you can tell from my name, I'm a French Canadian, so I could barely speak English as well at the time. So that was back in '99. I applied for a master in bioengineering because I come from a family of doctors and nurses, and that was like the logical path to go. But I listened to my mentor, my advisor for my undergrad project, and he said, go work, go and explore, because it was 1999. This was a good time for engineering. They would hire anyone. So I remember at the interview, I had an interview in Boston. They asked me what is a low pass filter, and okay, I can do that. That's not too difficult. And the fact that I couldn't really make an English sentence didn't really matter, it seemed. So I worked there for 1.5 years in Boston. It was amazing. And then for personal reason, I guess the boyfriend at the time found a job with TI in Dallas. So I was like, okay, I'll go in Dallas, which is a big step for a French Canadian girl from the north to go south. It was an amazing experience. I worked there 2 years, and that's where I got exposed to photons. I was in the custom design group. We used to make drivers for the laser scanner, laser scanner, barcode. And I was a test engineer on that chip. And then there was restructuration. And then we became the optical communication group. So we were developing drivers, transimpedance amplifiers, limiting amp. But it was 2002, the tech bubble burst. And so I had to have a plan B, because our group was reorganizing itself, i.e. firing people. So everybody was high stress level at the time. And I was on an H1 visa, like, okay, I guess I got to find a solution. I didn't want to come back home. I really wanted to continue my journey. So I applied to grad school. I didn't get fired. We were downside to 14, but at the time, my boss, Martin Izzard, is relatively, I think, known in California, said, okay, take an academic leave, go back to school, come back. I never went back, but I really appreciated the opportunity. And I went to New York thinking just doing a master in photonics, because I thought that was a pretty cool field. But it was New York City, which is very fun on a personal level. So I was trying to find a way to stay longer. And then I was like, okay, I'll do my PhD. So it made me stay a long time. So I came back in, I guess, 2007 as a postdoc at McGill. So I came back to where I graduated from. And I was lucky that while I was doing my postdoc, there was an opening. And then I am here. It was a bit unexpected. Even my friends, they're like, you are the academic professors. There were a lot of other friends that it was obvious they would stay in academia, but for me, it was not obvious at all. So, but I really enjoy it. And here I am playing with photons, participating in the panel, and very happy about this opportunity.
Thank you, Adil, and we'll come back to your work at McGill as we go through the meeting. But I want to jump over to Amina now, who's also led quite an international career. And Amina, I'd like to sort of hear from you to wrap up this first session about some of your career decisions and maybe people and other important factors that have helped you in getting to where you are today.
Oh man, okay, let me try. Okay, firstly, I was not brave enough to work with my father. So with all respect to Adam, I decided to leave Cyprus, where my father actually has an engineering company where I would be a good fit to work. I ran away and went to the US to study, and then did not come back until it was too late to start working with him. So some of us are not brave enough to work with family. But then, yeah, with my father's full support, I studied electrical engineering. And then I graduated in the middle of this burst of the tech bubble that Odile mentioned. So I took the only job I could find in 2003 when I graduated, which was an internship to write LabVIEW code for a group at what was then Shipley to test some nano devices. So it was the only job I could find. I was not ready to go back home. I took the job. The internship turned into a co-op. I ended up staying for a year, and that's partly how I ended up in nanotechnology. I started with writing some LabVIEW code, and then I got more and more involved in the research, and I realized, hey, I really like research. So I went on to graduate school to continue studying semiconductors and nanotech in Ann Arbor, which was a fantastic opportunity. And I met lots of people who became my friends, my mentors. I am still in close contact with my PhD advisor, even though I left over 10 years ago. And then I moved, I wanted to move back a little closer to where I grew up, but not quite all the way back to Cyprus. So Switzerland seemed like a good distance. No? But no, kidding aside, it also has really a vibrant environment for research, for startups, for academics, for industry. So at the time we were only then starting our family, and we decided, hey, this is a great place for us to try. And it's a great country for all of the involved family members to have fulfilling careers, while the family itself can also live as a family. So that was the choice behind Switzerland. And I really enjoyed the academic research for several years at ETH Zurich. Then I moved to the University of Applied Sciences, where I was doing lots of research projects with industry. And 3 years ago, I finally made the switch into industry, where at Heidelberg Instruments Nano, we build machines for photonics. So we build machines that lots of researchers and some industry users make devices, structures, and investigative parts in order to enable the next generation photonics. So that's where I ended up through a few leaps of faith, but mostly actually it went in more of a straight line than the rest of the stories we have heard.
Thank you very much, Amina. And actually, this is a nice segue, because we're going to move into the next part of our panel, everyone, where I think you've heard some of the strategies and stories, I think, from our people, which may have informed their career decisions, and you may be able to make relations to your own and your own experiences. And please do use the chat to ask them questions, and we will make time for them at the end. We're going to move into something a little bit different now, and we're going to do a show and tell. So I'm a firm believer that what you learn at school and do at school is very good, and certainly in childhood I used to bring stuff into school and to share that with my classmates at the age of 5 or 6. So we're going to do this for adults now, and invite all of our panelists who brought a little picture of where they are today, and help you give a bit more of a flavor of what life is like today, and maybe how things have been changing in recent years with the photonics, and even compared to where the expectations were as to where they were previously. So immediately, because you were talking about your recent adventures in the lab, I'm going to invite you to tell us a little bit more about what's happening on this picture here, where you're looking very seriously at this piece of equipment.
Yes, so this is when a lab rat leaves the lab and turns to management and then is called back into the lab for a photo shoot. This is what it looks like. Kidding aside, I actually still get to go into the lab fairly regularly. Here I am changing a sample in our nanofraser. Unfortunately, you can see too little of the nanofraser, but of course we have tons of information about it on the internet, so you can look it up if you like. I am thankfully actually, for reals, left-handed, so I am holding the tweezers in my left hand, not just for the photo. And I am leaning in from the side window in order to change a sample that's under this microscope. So the nanofraser has a thermally active cantilever with a probe on it, and you can use that to write 2.5 or 3D structures, glazed gratings and optical plates and so on. And it has, in this particular case, also a laser module. So you can write the nanostructures with the heated tip, and you can write the microstructures using the focused laser beam. And in this picture, I'm looking very intently on it because I tend to actually start going into a giggle fit if I am not looking away from the camera, which of course, you know, if you are a team leader and you get into a giggle fit, then the junior engineers are quite excited about it, but it's not for every day.
Okay, so some lessons here on having to set the example in a lab environment and being serious. We'll stay in the lab, but we'll have a look at a different view of it. We've also got a very serious face here. Tie and suit of a director in the lab. But Adam, let us know what's happening in this picture. What are we seeing? And please tell us more about what's in this picture.
All right, there's lots of irony in this picture. So that's our MBE lab. While in my community, we're fighting MBE versus MOCVD, and two different epitaxial technologies that are competing each other. One is more into vacuum, and the other is more into gases. And I was for 7 years trapped by my own father in the lab of MOCVD, doing like 12 or sometimes 20 hours of growth. But for a company picture, the MB always looks more complex, more professional. It's less cubic. It's more LEDs and different kind of vacuum equipment. So in behind there is a 3.5 MBE system. Now at the company we are using both MBEs, MOCVDs. I love the results of coming out of both systems, and newest one, the MOCVD as well. So I spent an interesting times connecting the pipes, growing wafers, layers, and designing structures, and looking for why it's not working. And so it makes always when I can stay longer at the company, I go to see my friends who are still everywhere around the company, from my old town in the lab, and talking to them about recent problems and comparing it versus previous problems, and trying to find the solution. So it's still a epitaxial growth is a great adventure, but it's only part of our experience right now in the company.
Yeah, well, it's thank you for the insight into some of the technical elements, and yeah, as a fabricator myself, I could spend a lot of time speaking to both of you on both of your projects around that, and we're great to see that you still have the appetite for the exploration, the experiments in your current roles as management. And we'll kind of move to another manager, but this time someone who's in academia and who's taken us outside of the lab with her picture, and is currently in a competition that we're running between the panelists. But Odile, can you tell us a little bit more about this picture and kind of what it means to you today in your role as a professor at McGill?
Yeah, it's funny because that picture makes me a little bit emotional. It was taken, I think in October, maybe October 2019, so pre-COVID. Rubana next to me on the left just had graduated. She defended her PhD, and we usually always have a gathering. And I love those gatherings. So, you know, I did say I love traveling. And when you're in academia, you are traveling because you meet people from everywhere. And I just love this diversity. So when we have chances to sit down and talk about food and you know, culture, festivities, it's just a big melting pot. I used to run a potluck. My husband is also a professor in electrical engineering, not very original, but we would run our potlucks and mix our students, and they would just be amazing at home. So I really, really miss that time. The other point I wanted to make is that although I'm from academia, I feel I have a startup of my own. I have employees, they're probably underpaid, but I have employees of my own. I have to sell ideas to the venture cap. They're not venture cap, right? They're the government funding agencies that I need to convince it's worth investing in my research. So it is kind of a startup without the risk of a startup. So all respect for those who went and started and work in companies. It's something I aspire to, but for the time being, it's not, I wouldn't be able to handle it. And I really like being surrounded by my graduate students. They have strength that complements me, and we just brainstorm ideas, and we're having fun.
Well, thank you very much for bringing in that perspective, and we're going to let everyone know what the competition is who had the most people in their picture, and I think I counted 15 in your research group, and so I think Ilse might win the competition for most people in her picture with her. But Ilse, tell us a little bit more about what we're seeing on the screen here. Hello, I'm not hearing any sound coming through.
Ilse, you need to unmute yourself, please.
Apologies.
Oh,
yeah, sorry. I was not aware it was a competition. It's actually the previous picture is a really nice one to follow up, because after the picture with Odile, after they are graduated, hopefully some of them will join me and the pictures behind me. So I also do research, and I also have a lab. My lab is called LinkedIn, and my scope is global. So this is actually a picture of every employee in our company. So when you are a new joiner, we take a picture of you, and you cannot imagine Smart Photonics has such an interesting technology. And then we take a picture with a Polaroid picture thing somewhere from the 80s. But it works, and with all the pictures we have created a heart. It's the heart of our company. So this is my daily job behind me. This is what I do, and this is what I really like. So yeah, those are my colleagues. So some of them are recruited by me.
Thank you. And I mean, I think that gives us a real flavor of who is speaking in the panel now, where people position themselves, and I think we're really going to sort of jump into, I think, some of the future, some of the challenges from the future of the labour market. I'm going to hand it back over to Patrick to carry on with the panel and keep you entertained for the next 25 minutes or so. Patrick, over to you.
Thank you, Matthew. Yeah, well, I would like all us to move to the other theme, which is the future. and it has been introduced by Matthew. So I mean, we all benefited from globalization of photonics, as we heard all of your stories regarding your experience. You've been part of different companies in different countries and graduated from different universities. So and moved around, migrated. Having this in mind, having this international experience, I wanted to ask you if the universities and companies are actually doing the right job to sustain the photonics labor market. But I will divide this into two sub-questions, say the technical skills first and the management and professional skills for photonics. So regarding the technical skills, what do you consider to be the hot photonics specializations where companies miss candidates, companies and research groups at the universities as well? I would like that question to first to be addressed by Adam. What are the hot photonics specializations where companies miss candidates? What's your view on that, Adam, please?
It's in the deep tech companies like Vigo, we are having a very strange mixture of different specialists, starting from chemical engineers, material science, all kind of physical engineer, and then electronics, optics. When typical university usually train only one specialty, there is always a great people who are trying to learn few of them, but at least from our perspective, there is not so many people who are trained to do to connect all the dots to work together as a team, and actually this kind of connecting people is one of the hardest thing, connecting technically. So looking at the whole room of different experts and making them work together, think together, and actually accepting the ideas from each and every person. So for me, this was something that I had to learn during my career to really connect everything. Of course, there are system integrators. There are guys who are trying to connect it on paper or kind of take the ready specification and connect already stabilized products into the even more complex product. That's also difficult, but it's much easier than actually driving the team of the guys where each component, part of the design, the development is under construction. It's not yet fixed. There are lots of freedom in this process. And we have to concentrate on the goal. So this concentration of the goal, doing a good enough product. This is with all those great guys who want to be the best globally and doing the best things in their areas. It's a hardest technically.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry to jump in. Yeah, thanks, Adam. But now having this experience on what you're missing with your candidates, what are they lacks, sort of. What would be your piece of advice to the universities? I mean, if you would talk to the head of the university or a dean, what would be your advice? How to educate the young people so they are competitive on the labor market in the field of photonics?
I'm always saying that each engineer should go out of the lab, try to go to another lab to try to check and learn from the others. So this kind of specializing in one thing, but also accepting the new knowledge is always very important. To every sometime try to get new specialty or go to totally different conference, totally different environment, and learn from those other guys to do the best, but also to present yourself to the new guys. There is lots of entry barriers for newcomers in each university, each conference. Sometimes I go to the Christopher Grove conference, and each presentation is like it's talking only about last 2 weeks of their career and nothing else. So you have to be really on top of the state of the art to learn from them. There is very rarely an introduction, very rarely some kind of summary or a technology roadmap on the papers. So I'm looking for more marketing in the scientific presentations. I'm looking for more general look, so those newcomers could learn easly, and they could learn from each other. So this is kind of a barriers to break through.
Yeah, that's interesting to hear that, and actually this marketing in science, or this is what I heard already several times, that people miss this kind of skills. If you are a scientist, then you are a scientist forgotten somewhere in the attic, and you just do science, and that's a myth. The times have changed, and we need other skills. Yeah, I entirely agree. The same questions I would like to pose to Emine, being at the okay. So what do you consider? I mean, from your viewpoint, what are the hot photonics specializations these days, where companies or universities miss candidates from your experience?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say that they're missing it. You know, I mean, what Adam said is right. You know, being able to work in an interdisciplinary team and putting all of the connecting all of the dots is not that common. But what I actually really look for, in addition to that, is some idea of a good understanding of how a photonics design will also be realized, will also be fabricated. So that so it's really an advantage for students who during their studies take the time to get their hands on the different fabrication tools and do an entire fabrication run if possible, or at least part of it themselves, because then you really get a feel for what you are asking the fab to do for you when you design a part. Then the designs are more realistic if you have a good understanding of what it takes to do the microfabrication. And also a lot of the photonics designs end up on a multi-project wafer somewhere, right? And having a good understanding of what these runs are, what the limitations are, what the capabilities of different fabs are a huge advantage to a new person on the job market, as well as for someone, later on in their careers as well. So it's not like if you don't learn it at university, you're never going to learn it. This is something that anyone can learn at any time. And at university, or later also during graduate school, there is a unique opportunity to really get your hands on very expensive equipment in a lot of universities, even if it's not available at your own university, that you try to go to a summer school, that you try to participate in a lot of the national programs, especially in the US and Canada and the EU, and a lot of Far East Asia are offering these programs that students can spend a summer or a year learning these skills. And this helps a lot, even if this person ends up doing simulations or theoretical design for the rest of their careers.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's obvious. I mean, to expand the horizon sort of by gaining this international experience, benefiting from international exchange programs for students, so that I mean, developing the capability of working in the on the cross section of different disciplines. So that's yeah, okay. Now I move to Odile. Odile, you said you're at the university, but you are also running the startup. Yeah, I wanted to dive a bit into that one. So what are the skills a perfect candidate for you would have regarding the technical specialties?
You mean to come in and do academic research?
Yeah, well, that's one of the legs you're standing on, right? But I would also like to hear about the startup then.
Right. So, I mean, I'm taking a lot of notes, and I, since I don't work in industry, I can't say what are the exact skills that are missing, but I really agree with Adam and Emin that the multidisciplinary aspect, or an ability to understand all the facets of research or development. And what I try to do with my own students, I really go back a lot often to my own experience in the industry. And one thing that always comes up is that you don't pick with whom you work with. And I remember this being a challenge when I first started in Boston, because you work with, and as a woman, it's also perhaps a little bit more tricky, because I mean, things are changing and it's good, but you are in a dominating men place, which to me was not an issue per se. It's only later when others would tell me what could be the issues, like, oh yeah, maybe, and eventually, oh yeah, really. But working with old traditional conservator men needs some adjustment and flexibility, but also just same generation, even another woman. You need to, I try to tell the student, you need to be able to communicate with anyone. And also because in research, you dive in so much that naturally you stay deep, and you don't have this ability to speak another slang that, you know, somebody else in a slightly different discipline would be able to understand. So often I'll pull the student out of his niche research and put it on a side project that involves different people, orthogonal way of thinking, just to kind of break them a little bit and forcing them to adapt to whom they're working with. Yeah, so that would be, that's from my perspective. I think sometimes it's missing. The students are so smart, but there's another kind of intelligence they're missing. And I try to push this, even though it's not valued, because they don't think it's going to lead to a paper. But I say, look, paper is one thing, right? So there's a lot of other things.
Yes. Odile, I'm sorry, I made one confusion. I said you're actually about the startup and university. I misunderstood you earlier, and I understand now that the startup is just a feeling that you have,
yes, yes,
that you have when working with the group.
Exactly.
But that if you have this feeling, then they should actually become good entrepreneurs later on, right? I mean, if they graduate with the experience and the way you guide them,
yes.
Then actually you are contributing to the development of the generation with the right skills, the multidisciplinary skills.
Yes.
A bit of business management, let's say, then of course the scientific part. So that's perfect. You're actually addressing the question. Thank you. Right, Ilse, you're working in this corporate recruitment. So I think you are actually very much at the source of the information to answer the question, what are the skills missing for your company and what are the candidates like? So please let us know the hot photonics specializations where your company, Smart Photonics, miss candidates, and how would you advise to the universities to educate people better, your candidates better?
Now, that's a very open question, Patrick, and I can answer that question for hours. So I will, because this is my entire job, but I will try to keep it as brief, as clear as possible. I think that depends on the job they are applying on, because there are multiple jobs, and depending on the jobs, you require different skills. If you look at the universities, in my opinion, universities should do what they do best, which is delivering highly skilled technical candidates. And on top of that, I agree with both, with actually all three people before me, that soft skills do matter. You should be surprised how many resumes I receive from fresh grads, but also from more senior people, existing out of 10 pages fully filled with data, technical features I truly don't understand, and all kinds of grades and honor rewards that does not ring a bell to me. So educate them that it's okay to be not okay, that it's not only about numbers and where you graduated with honors, yes or no. It's important to know what you want. If you can tell me the destiny you see in front of me, you already won from 10 other applicants because they don't have a clue what they want yet. And I would encourage universities for exchange programs, but also to push your students into all kind of extra projects, such as student teams, student associations. Last week, I had visitors of the University of Eindhoven, and that's true. They tried to sell me to put a smart Photonic sticker on their beer tub. But we didn't go for that one. But the way they try to sell stuff, the way they that shows me that people like them who have done additional projects on the side, they have both the technical skills as well as the soft skills. So they're always very interesting to people of the industry. It's not only about the technical competencies and whether you're the best technical person. It's a combination of everything. And if you can combine them, you are going to be a very wanted candidate.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks you for all your answers. And I have, in this theme, I have one last question regarding the management skills in photonics or in photonic companies. Now, do we need professionals with background in photonics in management positions in photonics companies? I really wonder what you say. Who wants to answer first? Please, go ahead. I'm not pointing at anybody. No. Do we need do the managers, the directors, should have experience and background in photonics or not necessary? Yeah, Ilse, please.
I think ideally you want to have a combination of both. Mm-hmm. Now my CTO told me he would listen, so I have to say yes for him. He's from the University of Eindhoven, and yes. It does help. In certain, if you are in the technical field, yes, it helps. But for example, the financial management or HR management, that's not needed. It should be a combination of both and a mix, like everywhere else in the organization. But to me, the management in photonics comes with more mature technology. So it comes naturally.
Okay, yeah.
Like Adam, he's a CEO and he has a PhD in photonics. So he grew into that position himself.
Adam, you've been just called out. Please, what's your opinion with this respect?
All right. I had lots of discussions when we are doing the statistics for government, how many photonics engineers are working in Vigo, and okay, it's much easier with R&D and production team, but then when it comes to our sales team or even accounting, I'm really having hard problems whether they are already professionals in photonics or not. And there is in selling infrared detectors, the material, semiconductor materials, there is so many specialties needed to really sell the export licenses to distinguish different technologies. On the end, there is still in now mid-sized company, no longer a startup, but still there is lots of photonics knowledge all around the company. So so for a while, like I'm not able to see the possibility to have top management without skills in photonics, without having a very long onboarding that really teach a newcomer details of what we are actually doing. That's so it's not always we need to have a guy who went through PhD in photonics. Sometimes it's a PhD in photonics makes some of the scientists too much concentrated on very detail of nanostructures of certain compounds in only certain physical structure, and it's closing this guy to a new technology, this guy or girl, but somehow working together in an open environment makes even those guys from different areas, mechanical engineering, just plain physics, plain mathematics, make them easier to join us, and somehow later on became professional in photonics. So having this ideal situation where everybody is open for collaboration is somehow a solution to your question, that we could really, in the end, we could accept non-professionals in management of photonic companies, but our community need to be open for communication, for development, for different kind of working together as a team.
Okay, thank you. The time is chasing us a bit, or we are chasing the time actually. It's 4 minutes left in our session, and I would like to give the opportunity to the audience if they have any questions to the panelists. Matthew, are you tracing any Q&A window? Is there?
Yep, tracing this at the moment. I'd like to invite anyone. If you have a question, you can unmute yourself, and if you even want, put your camera on to address it to the panelists today. And Patrick, would you say something?
Yeah, if we do not have any question from the audience now, I mean, people may still consider and decide whether they want to ask a question or not, or put it in the chat. In the meantime, let me ask a question to the audience, not to the audience, sorry, to the panelists, regarding the impact of COVID onto the photonics labor market. I mean, from your perspective, how do you judge this year-over-year perspective? I mean, the pre-COVID era, during the COVID era, and a bit speculating what's going to happen after the COVID era, hopefully soon. Would things change? Would the photonics labor market change somehow? Would the way we work very often now, the remote way of working, carry on in photonics companies? Or it doesn't really matter? It's going to be the same in every other industry. What is your opinion about that? Who wants to answer that one? Perhaps I would ask maybe Odile or Emine, as you haven't really spoke for the last question. Yeah?
Well, yeah, I don't know. It's speculative, and I'm not a social expert or politic expert. I think there's a lot of variable. I am pretty sure it will change. I think the shortage of parts. I just bought a GBIB cable yesterday. it was like 5 times the price it was 5 years ago. And it's like, whoa, this is an issue. So shortage of parts will affect hardware development. And I think that will force globalization to slow down. I don't know, maybe not, but like, I think I'm hoping my own country will position itself to develop its own hardware a little bit more. Because I think in the last 10, 20 years, we kind of let go, relying on Asia and other places. And then now it's like, okay, no, I think we have to figure out ourselves. And in the 90s, Canada was a leader in optical communication systems deployment. And then Nortel died and everybody hated optics in Canada for many, many years. I had 9 students in my optic course when I started in 2008. I'm like, what's going on? and then 2-3 years ago, I had 40 students in the same course. So I think in Canada, we're past the post-Nortel collapse era, because it was a really tough economically, because people had invested their retirement funds in Nortel in Canada and they lost everything. So there was a negative feeling towards optics. And I think we are over that. And I'm really pushing for hardware development. So I'm hoping whoever has influence in my government will make this happen.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Adele. Emine, couple of
I
last
actually see it.
sentences.
Yeah, I actually see it quite similarly. And I think through COVID and seeing how many industries are actually much more volatile than we thought, photonics and optical communications came out as one industry that has proven to be more robust than many. So I think for students as well as for employees and employers, it has become even more attractive than it was before. And of course, the demand for optical communications keeps on growing as projected or even above projections. So I expect that it will keep on growing. And the supply chains being, proving to be as difficult as they are, I also see more decentralized production of these parts coming up. The EU has already come out and said, hey, we need our own fabrication, at least to some degree, in order to be self-sufficient, at least in a crisis situation. So that also tells me that I think this topic will be attractive also worldwide, not only in a few geographic areas, but everywhere going forward for the next 10 years or so, at least.
All right. Thank you. Matthew, are you? Yes, you're here.
Still here and listening carefully and not taking away from everyone from other people's by noise in my background. So we are coming for an end, and I think we are going to have to be mindful of everyone's time because the conference is still running and our session is planned at 2:30. So I guess I'd like to take the opportunity to thank all of our panelists once again for their time today and their inputs, their insights, and their predictions, if you like, for the future of the workforce. For that, I think I certainly be happy to connect. If you do want to leave your LinkedIn in the chat as in your business cards, we can virtually connect afterwards. But I will be leaving the chat open for a couple of minutes so that you can throw something in and not lose it instantly. And wish you a good morning, day, or evening from wherever you're calling in the world. So thank you as well, Patrick, for co-moderating the panel, and the support of the IEEE for supporting this industry day, which is running throughout Monday today.
Yeah, thank you, Matthew, as well. Thank you for organizing and hosting it, and thank you to all the panelists and the audience. Have a good day further. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great panel. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good luck, Odile, on your
Thank you.
whatever you're writing right now.
Oh, yes. Need to cancel my other meetings now. Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.